Welcome back to Celebrity Radio. It's Alex Belfield talking to the big stars of Coronation Street, and we've got one for you today. Jane Danson is, of course, Leanne Battersby, and one of my favourite characters on the soap. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you for that.
Well, firstly, you're delicious. It must be great being you.
Is it? I don't know. I'm quite happy, I have to say.
There are some people I sit opposite from these soaps, so I wouldn't want to be them because they go out in public and everybody hates them and they take it a bit too seriously. I don't think you've really ever had that. You came in with a blast, but then people have warmed to you and you're one of the nice ones now, so that must be nice.
When we first joined the show, I think it is fair to say we were sort of the family everybody loved to hate, without a doubt, and I kind of hated us as well to begin with, to be honest. But yeah, as time's gone on and Leanne's been through such a massive journey and she's been involved in so many different mad, bad, great stories, I think the public have kind of taken her under their wing a bit, which is great for me, obviously. But yeah, it's generally on the whole, the reaction is quite nice, which is always good.
And then we look at your life in parallel with your life on the soap. And of course, your real life is more important because that's real and this is only showbiz. But through the trajectories of marriage and births and the show, I mean, it's an extraordinary existence. Do you wake up in the morning sometimes and pinch yourself? Because A, you're in work, which is every actress's dream. But then you've got this other life, which is equally as extraordinary and wonderful and has those triumphs like babies and things like that.
Yeah, I think certainly Leanne's had a very sad life, actually. And I do feel incredibly sorry for her because she's always strived to have that support, the family unit, which she's never had, really. You know, the Battersbys were as close as she came to it. They all loved each other, but they weren't really around a lot, and her mum abandoned her. And so my own life has been the absolute polar opposite of that. I've always been had a close-knit family. I've very lucky to have children of my own and a lovely husband, and so I feel quite content, whereas she's always striving to get that contentment, and I don't ever think I don't feel that she will ever get it or it will ever last for her, because she's just one of them characters.
And she's in a right pickle at the moment. I mean, you watch it and you cringe because you think she means well, but it was pretty silly, wasn't it, what she did? I mean, if you're going to have a one-night stand, do it with somebody you don't know.
I know, what a fool. I think she'd had a really bad day. It was one of them moments where, you know, initially when they proposed the story, Si Gregson and I said, what? This is craziness. When have we ever been romantically linked as characters? And we kind of struggled initially. And then they gave us the scenes that you didn't see. They give us what happened. Right. Okay, so when we read them, we were like, great, this is brilliant, you know, because we can put that piece of the puzzle in our heads and we can try and make this work. But they're both having a particularly bad time. You know, Steve, you know, made a huge mistake, as did Leanne. But Leanne has gone through emotionally a bad time. You know, she'd lost Cal in the fire the year before. She'd had this terrible time with Simon and the abuse and all the rest of it. And I think it was just, in the moment, they kind of forgot themselves and thought, oh gosh, you know, that was a terrible mistake. Nothing will ever happen from it because Leanne can't have children. And, you know, it was a silly mistake. And of course, it's soap. Suddenly she can have children. And then it's provoked this huge story, not only for Leanne and Steve, but for also Michelle and Nick and any other characters that are going to be involved along the way. So it's very clever.
When you did those scenes and you were being beat up by your own son, it seems ridiculous, but then you watched it and you saw how actually in proportion it was possible and you carried it off so beautifully. Were there days you left those studios drained and exhausted and wondering whether you wanted to do this for a living? Because it becomes very real, doesn't it, when you're doing it day in and day out?
Yeah, it really did feel like that. And initially, because Leanne is such a strong, feisty character, I did think it was ridiculous. I've got to hold my hands up. I thought, really? Is she really going to take this from a kid? You know, Leanne Battersby being a Battersby, wouldn't the story be great if she hit him back, you know, which obviously would provoke another issue, should we say. However, as we got more and more into the story, I had to find something in her to think, why would she not do this? And obviously Simon's had equally a turbulent life as she has. He was like a lost child and she was being that protective mother, and it brought out a new side to her. So eventually I kind of bought into the story, having initially thought, I'm not sure about this. And that's my job, is to tell the story and believe it and do it to the best I can. So yes, that was a real turning point for her, and I think that cemented her as a parent as well. I think she realised that no matter what, she'll never give up on this kid, even though he's biologically not hers. That's sort of almost cemented their relationship because they've managed to come through it. And of course, now having another child along the way, that will obviously provoke another story with Simon, because how will he deal with it? So it's really great. It's great that they're really investing in her and me to a point, which is always nice. And of course, that means that we get to tell these lovely stories.
The good thing about being the star of the show in whatever storyline you're doing is that you're the star of the show for weeks on end. The bad news is you've got to actually record them and turn up and do it, and it's a proper job. Are there moments you think, oh, I wish I could just take 9 months off and do panto?
I think, do you know what? I'm really lucky. I love the job. It is, when you're in storyline, it can be very demanding. And actually coming to work and doing it is the best bit. But it is a lot of learning. And any actor who comes in who, we've all jobbed, we've all had experience in other dramas or theatre, but the volume of lines is, when you're in storyline, is a lot. Some people can do upwards of sort of 40 pages a day for weeks, and that can be quite demanding. So actual doing it, we all love doing it, and it's fun, and it sometimes works out differently to how you thought it would be, but the actual learning it, you go home at the end of a long day and you're there learning sometimes 40 pages, which is a discipline, if I'm honest. But also you appreciate that there will be the leaner times and you will get that balance back a little bit. But that is the nature of the show when you're in a heavy story.
Do you view yourself as a big star or an actress? Because in my view, you are a big star. I mean, you're so regularly on our screen. You can't hide in this show. It's not like you're on at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah. What's it like walking around Manchester and being you in your private moments?
I think it's a very strange... I can't really put it into words because you don't see it yourself, even though you're aware that there are certain places you maybe shouldn't go at certain times. Trafford Centre on a Saturday, no go. That's just a nightmare, which can be a bit, frustrating sometimes. I think you forget. You can't imagine it yourself. It's a really difficult way to explain it. I know exactly what you mean by the question, but it's a strange feeling. You can't comprehend how many people watch the show. I've been like far and wide across the world, and people go, there's Leanne, you've been in Australia and somebody recognises you, and it's quite hard to comprehend. Probably best not to try.
Right.
And when we all go about our daily business, we're going about our daily business, and you have to accept that you're in these people's living rooms 5 times a week, and most of the time, touch wood, I've been quite fortunate that most of the reaction has been nice. You're always going to get somebody you irritate, which is human nature, isn't it? But it's a strange one. I don't think we can all comprehend how big the show is. Right. Equally, when you're not in the show so much, the attention drops a little bit as well. So it's kind of, I don't know, it's a strange one. And I don't think you can really explain it to anybody unless you've been in that situation.
And that feeling of waking up and seeing yourself on the front or page 3 or 6 or 9 of a newspaper, again, it must be extraordinary because it's just you doing something you did 6 weeks ago that's then bringing you back. And then we look at you privately, and what an achievement to be normal, sane, happy, married with kids. I've sat opposite so many people who struggle with coping with it. It seems like more than anyone I've met, you seem to have taken this all in your stride. Were there moments it was difficult privately and affected your real life? Because you seem to have coped with it beautifully.
Thank you. That's very kind. I think there are certain moments in your life that you go through things that aren't particularly nice, which can sometimes be difficult. I lost a parent and had to kind of go through that journey alongside working a really heavy schedule and getting a lot of reaction to people, and people don't know that, and why should they? But you have to sort of somehow separate the two, which we all sort of somehow manage to do it in that way. But I think when you're going through a particularly tough time, the people that understand are the people here, and we all push each other forward. And obviously I'm married to an actor who has experienced a similar journey to me in and out of work over the years, and I think that helps. But ultimately, as well, most of us come from relatively normal backgrounds, and we're the only ones in the family to be in this business, which is, like you say, a little bit kind of crazy, and kind of everybody knows you but you don't know them, and but I think my parents certainly made sure that your feet are on the ground kind of thing.
And that pride at family dues when you turn up and you're the star off the telly and you're still the sister, the auntie, the cousin, I guess that's the payoff too, isn't it? That you're making everybody so proud. You're not known for bad things, you're known for good things.
Yeah, I suppose it's all relative, isn't it? You know, the things that your members of your own family do, you know, they're obviously, you know, I've got a lot of support on, which is really lovely. But equally, they're off doing great things and in their world as well. So, yeah, it's just kind of, for me, it's a wonderful job. It's a job I've done for a very long time and I really enjoy it. But that's what you have to remember. It is a job, and not get too lost in all the sort of hype and, you know, sort of things that come with it. Because in the end, I just love what I do. And that's it, really.
And it's all fleeting, let's face it. One day you're the big star, the next day you're not, but you'll always have your kids. Being a mum, let's end on that. Yeah. Is there anything more gratifying, is there anything more joyous than waking up in the morning and having a child bounce on top of you?
It's nobody can prepare you for it, can they? It's I remember when I was pregnant first time round, and I remember thinking, oh my God, what do I do? You just sort of know, and I think kids are very grounding and they bring you right back down to earth, and that's the whole reason for being here. It's for them, and you know, my kids for me are my life, and for coming to work as an actor, doing what I love every day is great, but the best thing is going home every night and not having to be away from them, and that's for me is what could be better. And
there can't really be a star in the house when you're changing nappies and clearing up sick, can there? Let's be honest.
No, and to be honest, I think they don't. Now they're a little bit older, they don't really appreciate the you know, that they know mum's on TV, but they don't know the enormity of it, like what maybe other people do. But, so it's all sort of relative, isn't it? In the end, they don't watch it, so they're not bothered.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, I remember somebody saying once about them. I think it was the Sharon and Ozzy's kids saying, "I thought everybody had a rock star as a dad." I mean, that's what they know. They don't know any different.
Yeah, and like you say, you know, having been married to an actor who's experienced good times and bad times in the industry, you know that it can go at any moment, and you know that, you know, for all the attention that you get, it's sort of meaningless in a sense, you know. And I don't want to sound flippant, or it's very nice when people say lovely things, and that's always very, very kind and lovely, but ultimately your kids are you know, they're the measure of what it's all about, aren't they? And I think it's for them it's not something that they're bothered about, which is, I suppose, is a good thing.
And will we see you here forever as long as they want you? Because it seems to me you've forged a role in this show that matters, that means something, that's a great part of the show. There are some people coming and don't quite find their feet. You've certainly done that. Are you here as long as they want you? Are you happy doing this gig?
Again, it's one of them, isn't it? You just don't know. I'm very happy here, and I, you know, I've been really fortunate to have done other things as well, but you know, also the character, you don't know where she's going to end up. You don't know if a new producer will come in and say, well, Leanne's had a time. But whatever happens, it's been a blast, and I'm really enjoying it. So I take each year at a time. But equally, if they turn around and said it's game over, then I've had a good run.
You have, really. And you never know, Simon might stick you in the dishwasher one day, turn it on, and then that'll be the end of you. You never know, do you?
Yeah, who knows what will happen.
Jane Danson, thank you so much for your time. We love you very much on the show, and you've created such a brilliant role, and you're so good at it. Nice to talk to you.
Thank you. Do you want to be my agent?